Welcome to Daedalus Debugger, a podcast series conceived by Luciano Ambrosini and co-created with me, Eve. Today we will discuss Beyond KID, flexible programming and architecture, scripting, innovation, and the future of the profession. Enjoy your listening.
Ready to dive into the world of architecture. But not just bricks and mortar, we're talking algorithms. And building the future.
Building the future, that's right, yeah. We're exploring flexible design, where buildings are shaped by code, not just concrete.
Our blueprint for this deep dive. A research paper called, get this, Flexible Design and Scripting, a computational tale in the digital era.
Catchy, right?
Don't worry, we'll decode all the jargon, unearth those fascinating nuggets for you.
It's amazing how this field evolved. The paper actually traces what we call parametric architecture back to, get this, the 1940s. An Italian architect named Luigi Moretti.
The 1940s. Seriously, I had no clue computers were even a thing back then. What was Moretti even envisioning?
Well, early computers were just emerging, and Moretti, he was ahead of his time. He saw the potential, merging traditional design with mathematical equations, buildings adapting based on cost, social factors. Imagine that.
He was like a design futurist.
Yeah.
The paper mentions a 1960 football stadium project.
Exactly. Moretti designed this stadium where, get this, the ticket price actually influenced the structure.
Whoa.
Not just aesthetics, right? It was about parameters, finding those elegant solutions to really complex problems.
So his work kind of laid the groundwork for what we're seeing now with flexible design.
Absolutely. It's all connected.
So how does modern software play into this? The paper mentions generative components and Grasshopper.
Those are the platforms that empower architects, go beyond the limits of traditional software.
So less drafting table, more coding.
Exactly. They're writing code, creating algorithms to explore a way wider range of design possibilities.
So instead of sketching blueprints, it's writing scripts, like a new language for architects.
You got it. Imagine writing a script that optimizes a building's energy efficiency just based on location.
Wow. How?
The software analyzes sunlight patterns, adjusts window sizes, placement, all automatically, just to reduce energy consumption.
Buildings adapting to their surroundings in real time. What are the implications of that, really?
Mind-blowing possibilities. We could see buildings responding to weather, traffic flow, even people's movements inside.
Incredible. But the paper does mention a concern from David Rutten. Seems like a leading voice.
Oh, absolutely. He's a pioneer.
He cautions against giving these powerful tools to, well, maybe younger architects who haven't quite grasped the fundamentals of design yet.
Right, like giving someone a high-powered tool without any safety lessons.
Exactly.
Just as a skilled craftsperson needs to master their tools, architects need to deeply understand design principles.
Otherwise, you risk creating something unsafe or just plain ugly.
Exactly. These tools, they don't replace creativity, they amplify it.
They amplify it.
Yeah.
Okay, so they've got powerful tools, creativity, but how do they actually use them? This research paper mentions scripting and algorithms. It all sounds a bit like, robots taking over the world. Don't worry, we're not there yet. Think of scripting as a way for architects to talk to the software, give it instructions, create those complex shapes and structures, things you couldn't do by hand.
So less manual drafting, more make it so. Exactly. The algorithm is like the recipe, the set of rules the software follows to execute those instructions and generate the design.
Gotcha. Starting to get it. But we were talking about parameters earlier, right?
Yeah.
How do those fit into all of this?
That's where it gets really cool. Remember Moretti? Parameter-driven designs. With scripting, architects build those parameters right into the code.
Cool.
Let's say they're designing a building, right? Want to optimize it for energy efficiency. They can write a script that factors in location, orientation to the sun, even local weather patterns.
The building becomes this adaptable system,
Yeah.
constantly adjusting. Incredible. And you said earlier that architects are essentially writing code. Is that a whole new programming language?
It can seem that way, but honestly, it's not as daunting as it sounds. Many platforms use languages that are more visual, more intuitive for designers.
So it's geared towards how architects already think.
Yeah, exactly.
But there's still a learning curve, right? How does the field handle this transition to a more, code-driven approach?
That's where open collaboration comes in.
And this is where it gets really interesting.
Yeah.
The paper draws this fascinating parallel between scripting and, wait for it, Benjamin Franklin.
Really?
Yeah. His advocacy for open access to knowledge. Just like Franklin believed in this free exchange of ideas, the scripting community has embraced a similar thing.
That's fascinating.
Platforms like Grasshopper, which we mentioned, thrive on this open source philosophy. Architects worldwide contribute to this huge library of scripts, add-ons, tools. It's constantly expanding what's possible.
That's incredible.
So instead of this cutthroat competition, you have this spirit of cooperation, shared learning.
It's amazing.
Driven by this passion for creating incredible buildings. Now that's teamwork.
Absolutely. That's what it's all about. That's exactly right. And this open source approach also lowers the barrier to entry for students and emerging architects, giving them access to these powerful tools and a community to learn from.
This collaborative spirit, it's not just within the design world, right? The paper also talked about how flexible design is changing the way architects work with engineers and contractors.
Absolutely. This is one of the most exciting aspects of this shift. In the past, these different disciplines often worked in silos, leading to miscommunications and costly revisions. But with flexible design, everyone can be on the same page, literally.
Okay, so less ivory tower, more construction site collaboration. Give me an example.
Imagine a structural engineer being able to see in real time how changes to a building's form might impact its stability, or a contractor being able to flag potential cost overruns based on material choices early in the design process.
That's amazing. So you're talking about catching potential problems before they even arise. This shared understanding, this transparency, it streamlines the whole process.
It does, and it also fosters a more collaborative and innovative environment. When everyone has access to the same information and can see the impact of their decisions, it sparks new ideas and solutions that might not have been possible before.
And this collaborative approach, this ability to share information seamlessly, it extends even further, right?
Yeah.
I'm thinking about the fabrication and assembly of building components.
You're exactly right. Flexible design isn't just about virtual models. It's changing the way buildings are physically constructed.
Okay, now you're going to have to break that down for me.
Think about it this way. Architects can now send digital instructions directly to a CNC machine or a 3D printer. This allows for the creation of building components with incredible precision and customization.
So instead of relying on mass-produced materials, architects can create truly unique elements, perfectly tailored to their designs.
Precisely. And because these components are digitally fabricated, there's less waste, less room for error, and the potential for much faster construction times.
Wow, so we're talking about a potential revolution in the way buildings are designed, constructed, and ultimately experienced. Now, for the big question, what does all of this mean for the future of architecture?
That's the million-dollar question. And while we can't predict the future with certainty, the trends we're seeing suggest a world where buildings are not only more responsive to their environments, but also to the needs of the people who use them.
Talk about putting the human back into human-centered design. Give me an example.
Imagine a hospital room that automatically adjusts its lighting, temperature, and even its layout based on the needs of the patient. Or a school building that can transform its classrooms and learning spaces throughout the day to accommodate different learning styles and activities.
These are buildings that can actually adapt and evolve along with us. It's like that famous quote, "Form follows function, just got a serious upgrade for the 21st century."
I couldn't have said it better myself. And what's even more exciting is that this shift towards flexible design is happening alongside other technological advancements like artificial intelligence, the Internet of Things, and advanced robotics.
Okay, so now I'm picturing those architect robots again. But in all seriousness, I can see how those technologies could amplify the power of flexible design even further.
Absolutely. Imagine buildings that can learn from their occupants, anticipate their needs, and even repair themselves. We're not quite there yet, but these are the kinds of possibilities that this convergence of technologies is opening up.
It's both exhilarating and a little bit daunting to think about all of this. With all this talk about the future of design, are there any potential downsides?
Of course. With any new technology, there are always going to be challenges to address. One thing the paper brings up is that we need to be mindful of accessibility and affordability. We don't want to create a future where these incredible buildings are only available to a select few.
That's a really important point. We need to make sure that these advancements benefit everyone, not just a privileged few.
Exactly. And that requires careful consideration and planning. We need to be mindful of how we implement these technologies, ensuring that they're used to create a more equitable and sustainable built environment for all.
It's inspiring to think about a future where buildings can adapt and evolve along with us.
It really is.
But it's also a reminder that, technology is only as good as the people using it.
Exactly. And that's why this paper emphasizes that flexible design, it's not just about the tools themselves.
Right.
It's about cultivating a whole new way of thinking about design,
Okay, I'm intrigued. Tell me more about this new way of thinking.
Well, the paper uses this term heuristics to describe the approach.
Heuristics, okay?
Yeah, it's about moving away from those rigid rules and embracing a more experimental, iterative process.
So instead of just following like a set of predetermined steps, you're saying architects are encouraged to ask, what if?
Yeah.
And just explore more possibility.
Exactly. It's about using scripting and algorithms, not just to automate tasks, but to test assumptions, uncover hidden relationships, discover those solutions that might not have been obvious at first.
It sounds like this approach requires a lot of curiosity and a willingness to embrace uncertainty.
Absolutely. And that's something that scripting can actually cultivate.
Oh,
When you have the ability to quickly test ideas and see the results in real time, it just encourages a more playful and explorative approach.
just like giving architects the freedom to experiment at the speed of thought.
Exactly. And through that experimentation, they develop a deeper understanding of those underlying principles of design.
I see. So they're not just creating buildings, they're creating new ways of thinking about how buildings are created.
That's the idea.
This is incredible. It's like this whole new world of design is opening up.
It is pretty amazing.
But this shift towards flexible design, it's not just a technological one, is it?
You're right. The paper makes a really good point about how these technological advancements are driving this cultural shift within architecture.
Okay, now we're going down the rabbit hole. What kind of cultural shift are we talking about?
Well, it's about recognizing how these new technologies are changing the way architects work, how they collaborate, even how they think about their role in society.
Give me an example of what you mean.
For one, we're seeing a move away from that traditional model of the architect, toiling away in isolation.
Yeah, the lone genius stereotype.
Exactly. With cloud-based platforms and collaborative design tools, architects can now work together seamlessly from anywhere.
It's like their studio isn't confined to a physical space anymore.
Right, and this interconnectedness, it's fostering a greater sense of community and shared purpose.
It's really inspiring to think about how these advancements are not only changing how buildings are designed, but also how architects work and interact with each other.
It really is.
It speaks to a larger point about how technology can be transformative. It's not just about, making things faster or more efficient. It's about creating new possibilities for human connection, collaboration, creativity.
I completely agree.
That's a powerful thought. And it makes me think about all the other fields that could benefit from this more flexible, collaborative, code-driven approach.
Absolutely. The things we've discussed today, from parametric design to open source collaboration, they have applications way beyond architecture, whether it's designing products, developing software, even writing music.
Yeah.
These ideas can help you approach work in a more creative, efficient, impactful way.
This deep dive has given our listeners a lot to think about today. We've explored how cutting-edge technology is reshaping architecture, not just the buildings themselves, but the way architects think, collaborate, approach their craft. It's clear we're on the cusp of something new in design, something full of possibilities. As we wrap up, we encourage you to consider how these ideas might spark new ways of thinking and working in your own field. Thanks for joining us on this fascinating journey into the future of design.
Thanks for listening. See you on the next episode of Daedalus Debugger, the architect in the digital maze. Bye!